Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going on an epic macro to micro journey through the absolute wonders of science. We're going to explore how literally everything is connected, starting way out with the vastest structures in space, and then zooming all the way back down to the invisible microscopic foundations of life itself. Let's get into it.
Okay, so before we go anywhere, I want you to consider this massive puzzle about our physical reality. What force keeps us grounded on Earth even while the entire universe is expanding all around us? Seriously, think about that for a second. We're literally sitting on a rock that's spinning through a practically infinite void.
And yep, there it is, gravity. It's the fundamental force keeping us grounded. I really wanted to start right here, because gravity is just the perfect conceptual anchor. It's this invisible tether holding our reality together, and honestly, it's the only reason your coffee stays in its mug. So, with our feet firmly planted, let's launch ourselves into the absolute extremes of space.
Here's the roadmap for our journey today. First, exploring the cosmos. Second, Earth's elements and forces. Third, the diverse animal kingdom. And finally, life's microscopic building blocks. It's a complete zoom in from the edges of the universe right down to your DNA.
All right, Section 1, Exploring the Cosmos, the vast universe.
To really wrap our heads around the cosmos, we first need to look at our biggest achievements in actually reaching it. It all started with Sputnik 1, the historic, very first man-made satellite to orbit the Earth. Then, we pushed the boundaries even further with Apollo 11, the first spacecraft to actually land humans on the moon. Incredible, right? And to connect our local orbit to the deeper observation of space, we launched the Hubble Space Telescope, which is easily NASA's most famous eye in the sky. These are basically our stepping stones into the void. Now, just looking at our own solar system, we see some unbelievable extremes. On one hand, you've got Mercury. It's the smallest planet, and it's sitting incredibly close to the blazing sun. But then, on the exact opposite end, there's Jupiter. It's the absolute largest planet, and it also boasts the most moons. It just goes to show you how wildly diverse planetary formation can actually be.
Moving out way beyond the planets, let's talk about some massive cosmic events. First up, the solar eclipse. It's a stunning phenomenon that happens when the moon passes directly between the Earth and the sun. Further out, you might spot a coma. No, not that kind of coma. It's the bright, glowing tail of a comet streaking across space. Even more violently, there's a supernova, which is literally the explosive death of a star. And all of this, including us, is housed right inside the Milky Way galaxy. But here's the absolute key takeaway. Fueling this entire cosmic theater, from comets to dying stars, is hydrogen. It's the single most abundant element in the whole universe.
But as unimaginably vast as the universe is, it does have absolute limits. Take the event horizon. This is the boundary around a black hole beyond which absolutely nothing can escape. Nothing. It is the universe's ultimate point of no return, which kind of takes a crazy abstract concept and makes it feel very real and very absolute.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, Earth's Elements and Forces, the Physical World.
So let's step out of the vacuum of space and bring it back down to Earth, specifically to the fundamental baseline of our planet's entire environment, water. Good old H2O. When it's solid, we call it ice. At sea level, its boiling point is exactly 100 degrees Celsius. In its purest form, it's got a completely neutral pH of 7. And that fascinating process where water vapor turns back into a liquid, that's condensation. Honestly, water's ability to change states so fluidly like that is exactly what makes our Earth habitable in the first place.
Just like we saw those crazy extremes out in space, Earth has its own extreme materials. Take diamond, for instance. It is renowned as the hardest natural substance on the planet. And then you have tungsten, which is the element with the absolute highest melting point. It's just a perfect showcase of extreme durability and extreme heat resistance, naturally produced right here beneath our feet. Now, these physical and chemical rules literally dictate our world. Think about the energy stored in a simple stretched rubber band before you snap it. That's potential energy. Zooming in to a chemical level, when two non-metals come together, they form what's called a covalent bond. But, and this is crucial, when certain compounds enter our atmosphere, like carbon dioxide, they act as greenhouse gases. And those emissions are the main driver of global warming. It's wild to think how something invisible can have massive planet-wide impacts, right? Now, before we switch gears to biology, we've got to briefly pay homage to the mind who helped us understand the physics connecting everything we've just talked about. Albert Einstein is, of course, known for the theory of relativity.
His theories beautifully bridge the gap between those massive cosmic forces of gravity we started with and the microscopic elements we're heading toward next.
Which brings us to Section 3, the diverse animal kingdom, life on Earth.
So, we're pivoting from raw elements into dynamic biological life. And just like we saw extremes in space and chemistry, life adapts to completely master its specific environment. On land, the cheetah reigns supreme as the fastest land animal. It's basically a living race car. Plunge into the ocean, and we have the blue whale. It's not just a massive creature, it's the largest mammal in the entire world. And then back on land, you've got the Komodo dragon, holding the heavyweight title for the largest living species of lizard.
But, life isn't just about these static extremes. It's incredibly dynamic. Take metamorphosis, for example. This is the fascinating process by which insects completely change their form during development. It's a great reminder that biology is always in a constant state of transformation and adaptation.
Let's actually weave a few of these biological terms together to paint a picture of how diverse species interact with complex habitats. Imagine a wetland, an ecosystem characterized by really water-saturated soils. Now, in this environment, you might find an omnivore, which is an animal adapted to eat both plants and animals. You'd also likely spot nocturnal creatures that are active entirely during the night. And a lot of these animals might be oviparous, which is just the scientific term for animals that lay eggs. Meanwhile, in totally different ecosystems, you see intense social adaptations, like a pride, a group of lions working together as a tight unit just to survive.
All right, the final leg of our journey. Section 4, Life's Microscopic Building Blocks, the Foundations. We've zoomed all the way in now, and we've landed on the number 6. Why 6? Well, because 6 is the atomic number of carbon, and carbon is the essential, fundamental anchor for biological life, exactly as we know it.
Let's actually connect that carbon right back to biology. Step by step, here's how the plant energy cycle harnesses it. Step 1. Plants absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Remember how we discussed greenhouse gases a few minutes ago? Well, this is nature's way of interacting with them. And then, step 2, they use a process called photosynthesis to actually make their own food. This microscopic, internal chemical reaction is literally what sustains the entire base of our food chain.
Now let's bring the focus directly back to you, to the human body. We're going to combine anatomy with those chemical elements we need to survive. So biology itself is simply the study of life, and the cell is the absolute basic unit of that life. Inside us, the heart is the primary organ responsible for pumping blood. But here's the thing, it can't do it alone. It needs elements like iron, which is totally essential for producing red blood cells. Plus, we are constantly interacting with our cosmic environment. For instance, our bodies naturally produce vitamin D when we're simply exposed to sunlight. So the macro universe and our microscopic biology, they are directly, inextricably linked. And finally, we reach the most micro-level concept of all, DNA. This is the molecule that carries genetic information in literally all living organisms. Within this DNA, specific sequences called genes code for specific proteins. Think of it as the literal instruction manual for everything we've just talked about today. Oh, and as a quick nod to scientific history, Gregor Mendel is known as the father of genetics because he really helped us begin to understand these foundational blueprints of life.
Science is just this incredibly interconnected puzzle. Together, we've traveled from the explosive death of a supernova way out in the Milky Way, all the way down to the intricate code of a human gene. So I'm going to leave you with this. From the vast Milky Way to the microscopic cell, what part of our scientific universe will you explore next? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.